All right, we are live. The Sunny Days Media Football Show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Before we start, we do have a lot of Detroit listeners and viewers. Want to congratulate the Detroit Tigers on one hell of a season, one hell of a comeback. 11 games out in August. They never should have been in the playoffs. For them to be there was incredible. That run that they went on was unbelievable. To win that wild card, to make it to a game 5, one game away from an ALCS. With basically 2 starting pitchers is remarkable. So hats off to those guys. Obviously, we still got our Mets in, and we're excited about that, but wanted to give a to them. Currently, right now, we've got the Bears and the Jags playing in, I guess,
London.
What we call this, Jacksonville East?
No, it's a Chicago game.
Chicago game.
I know, but it's in London, and the joke is that Jags play in London every year.
No, they do.
That's why I called it Jacksonville East. I guess it didn't hit. Oh,
no. That being said, live
East,
update. Cole Kmet just scored a touchdown. Nice pass from Caleb Williams over the middle.
A little reviewing though. Was it a touchdown?
Fuck Cole Kmet. It's a touchdown.
It was a fucking touchdown. Fuck. Dude, the Jaguars suck.
On that note, Caleb Williams, I know you kind of been on his tail a bit, Matt. You've been a doubter, and the last couple weeks he's been pretty good. He's kind of showing why he got that number 1.
Cole Kmet was wide open. What the fuck?
By the way, they scored on.
I'm not saying that.
They scored on my favorite play call. That is my favorite play call in NFL history.
Yeah.
I love it. The double wide receiver screen, tight end seam. It's the best. It works every time. But nobody really runs it. I don't know why. I'd run it every game.
Man. I wasn't really talking about that play, Matt. I was just talking about the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's looked better. No, he's looked better. I got to give him that. He's looked better. I'm still not convinced. I think Jaden Daniels is absolutely a world better than him right now. But
I think Jaden Daniels was always the most NFL ready just because of how much time he played in college. You know, he was a 5-year player, right? So
yeah,
it's just something that's gonna happen.
I'm pretty charged up. We had some break. I feel like can we get into the Robert Saleh shit now? Let's just
get it out of the way.
Let's get it out of the way. I'm gonna let you go. You guys start, and I'm gonna clean it up because I think I'm gonna say a couple of things that are not gonna make Jet fans happy, but it's got to be said. And
I think
I'm not happy to say any of it. I'm not happy about it, but it's got to be said because there's a massive elephant in the room wearing number 8. It's incredible how he's gotten zero blame for any of this. So you guys started off, and I'll finish.
I'm going to let Pacino go first because he's going to have a lot to say. And then I think what I'm going to say is kind of going to align with you.
I think they tried to take the head off the snake, but the real snake is one step above Robert Saleh. But I also think Robert Saleh was a bottom 5 head coach on a roster that had some talent. Wasn't built. It wasn't,
a little closer to the mic, Facino. A little closer.
I'm sorry. No, I don't think it was tweaked properly, and I think that when you look back at what the Jets have done over the last 2 off seasons, they've given Robert Saleh enough tools to go win if he was a good coach, but not enough tools to go win despite your coach. And when you want to win, especially that 49er game, it told me this coach is not going to outcoach 4 quality head coaches in a row in the playoffs. And this guy, he completely lets the locker room run rampant. He's a I want to get you guys paid type of coach, not I want to win so you get paid type of coach. And, you saw this over the last, 10 games. Every time the Jets lose, there's guys tweeting about how great their individual performances were. It is no longer a team game over in one Jets drive. Robert Saleh had no culture that was going to ever generate winning. And I think Aaron Rodgers went there, obviously, to win.
Oh, no, Facino, I think your mic's unplugged. No,
nope.
we do not hear you.
While he figures out his technical difficulties, I'll jump in. Basically, so I'm sad to see Bob go. And it sucks. You never want to see somebody lose their job like that. I do. Was he part of the problem? Yes. Was he the problem? No. Was he the solution? Absolutely not. But with Saleh here, it wasn't. He's a great defensive head coach, and as long as I can remember, the Jets' defense was always the focal point of their football game, and it still is to this day. We could see that we brought in Urbrick as the new head coach. He's a defensive coordinator, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to bring there. I am strongly in the camp of it was Hackett. I think Hackett calls a shit offense. I understand he's Rodgers' guy and all that good stuff, but I think as long as Hackett's around, I don't think any success is going to come. Now, Pask, you alluded to it. A lot of people think Rodgers might be washed, and it's easy to say that, but also it's not that easy to say that. So yes, at that Viking.
That's not what I was going to, but go ahead.
Okay. So I thought you were going to say that he was the problem. He's part of the problem. You look at that Vikings game last week. That was a winnable game. Granted, the Vikings are a good football team. The Vikings are up to that point 4-0. They are now 5-0. Rodgers doesn't throw that pick six to Van Ginkel, who I went back and watched like a week 1 show or something of ours, and there was a massive shout out to this Van Ginkel guy, which is really funny because he ended up biting us in the ass. But that pick six to him, I think, lost us the game. Then, of course, that late interception didn't help us either. That was a winnable game. That one slipped through the cracks.
Vikings offense
Denver
scored 13 points in that game.
Am I back, by the way?
You're back.
Yeah, you're back now.
10 points or 13 points?
That's what I'm saying.
Vikings didn't blow the doors
That was
off.
a game that we should have won.
Well, they did do the demotion
game
of
is
the
a game that had to be won. So I wanted to get to that. So that was big. So I've heard mixed this guy coming in from Tennessee, or he's not coming in from Tennessee. He was on the staff, but like he was, I think, the OC in Tennessee for a while. I don't remember off my head, but it looks like I'm losing Wi-Fi too here. But I don't know. We'll see what happens here. I think taking the powers that be away from Saleh is good. I think we'll see what happens. I think the fact of the matter is we're going to walk into Monday night, and that's going to be a must. That's probably the most important game of the season. If we win that game, the Jets are back. We lose that game, we got to figure some stuff out.
There were just a lot of problems with the Jets in my mind. It's just like mistakes on top of mistakes that just kind of compounded into a disaster. And I don't think necessarily the players are the problem, but at least they're talent-wise. But it seems like partially they're not being held responsible. They're not making the adjustments. They're not improving how they should be. And then that also goes back to the coaching staff. The coaching staff isn't doing a good job of keeping these guys together and developing them, helping them develop. And Joe Douglas on top of that is the one, I guess kind of pulling the strings along with Woody Johnson. And it's just it all added up into a disaster. I mean, it's like Woody Johnson's making a decision over Joe Douglas's head. Joe Douglas is making bad decisions as a general manager, and it's just it needs, in my opinion, it needs to be fucking ripped down and start over. You start from some small building blocks. I know there's a decent bit there, but you need to just start over because Joe Douglas can't be there. No one on this coaching staff could be there, and like some players need to be gone. Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone. All of his posse has to be gone. Alan Lazard, you need to get him out of the locker room. You need to get his what's the word? His
cancer.
Not his cancer, but his like
cancer.
What his
cancer.
Remove the tumor, cut it off the head. Yeah.
What he's put into this team, the players that he's brought in need to be taken away, and they need to start over. Any older guys like and the bow on top of it all was the whole Hassan Reddick debacle. I mean, that was just a fucking disaster. You never expect it to happen, but you know who that happens to? A team like the Jets when they are poorly managed and poorly run.
So
I've been there as a Mets fan.
Facino, I'm with you on Joe Douglas. Here's my whole spiel. Okay, you bring in Robert Saleh, this defensive guru, and that's what he is. That's truly what he is. Okay, that's what he was in San Francisco.
Yeah, he's not a head coach.
Okay, yes, right, and I agree with that. But what has he done? What has he done while here? Okay, right now, currently at his firing, where he's the defensive guru, you have your 17 points per game. That's 5th in the NFL. Your third down percentage is 42.3%. That's 10th in the NFL. Your turnover, you're at a 0, positive minus turnover, 16th overall. That's a little offense, little defense. Let's look at this here. Robert Saleh, is he a good coach? He's not a good coach, right? But last year, you develop this team. You build up this team. You give him Rodgers, and you have no backup plan. No backup plan whatsoever, because we all know what Zach Wilson was. Like, we knew what he was last year, right? He wasn't good. He's not an NFL quarterback. You bring in Rodgers, that's you putting all your chips in the center of the table. And you have no backup plan. He blows his Achilles, and we blame turf. And we blame this. And you know what? Maybe the turf at MetLife sucks. And maybe it was rainy. And there's a million things you could point to. But let's be honest here. You put all of your chips in the hands of a quarterback that at that time was 39 years old. And you said, this is it. This is it. Let's hope this works. And it didn't. And it didn't fucking work. And you looked at the head coach with no quarterback who was what were you guys giving up last year? 17 points a game? Same thing, 16 points a game? And you're still losing. And you don't have a quarterback. This is a quarterback-driven league. You didn't have one. He couldn't win. And you blamed him. You blamed him. Okay? Adam Gase, 9-23 Jets as the Jets head coach, .281 winning percentage. Todd Bowles, 24-40, .375 winning percentage. Robert Saleh, 20-36, .357 winning percentage. You have not. No. Hold on. No. I'm not done. You have not gotten the head coach right. Like most franchises, it's really hard to find a great head coach. I'll give you that. It's very, very hard. Very hard. I'm a Lions fan. Man, could I give you a list from Wayne Fonts of how long it took us to find Dan Campbell. So you know what? I'm not going to kill you on that. But let's all be honest here. You haven't been very good at finding the head coach. And what did you do? You brought in the head coach. You let him coach for 1 year. And then you came to the conclusion, guys, what we need is this guy that won a Super Bowl 11, 12, 13 years ago in Green Bay, a guy that's outstayed his welcome, a guy that has multiple MVPs, and yet those fans are very willing to let go of him. A guy that has all of that, and yet only the Jets are in on him. That far in on him. Like, let's be real. Denver wanted him the year prior. They got Russell, so they were out. Okay? It was pretty much just the Jets. Similar to the Kenny Golladay situation in New York, how only the Giants were willing to give him a long-term deal. That should open your eyes. Why doesn't anybody else want this guy? Aaron Rodgers is a cancer. He is an absolute cancer. Okay? He does not have the physical ability he had 5 years ago. He doesn't have the ability he had 10 years ago. Okay? He brought in all his people. He brought in a head coach. Nathaniel Hackett in Denver went 4-11, .267 win percentage. Didn't even make it through the first year. Denver's never done that.
That's unfair, though, because
no.
falls on Joe Douglas.
No.
It
okay.
doesn't fall on Rodgers.
But I'm not done.
Rodgers wasn't even here until March or April.
Time out.
Fucking Hackett
Facino,
in the beginning of January.
Who is the franchise listening to? You're listening to the 40-year-old who does ayahuasca in some other fucking country telling you who to hire, you almost pulled the trigger on a Davante Adams trade.
They should have pulled the trigger on a good trade.
It would have been a great trade.
Why are we?
The biggest problem is fucking Joe
Why
Douglas.
Are we listening to Aaron Rodgers?
Listen to him when it matters.
I don't think we are, though.
They're not.
I think you are.
They're really not. They brought in Nathaniel Hackett because they thought that it would help get Rodgers. They could have gotten Rodgers without getting Nathaniel Hackett. And you know what? Not for nothing. When he lost the play calling, what did Rodgers say? Nothing. He said, we're not good enough anyway. I don't give a fuck who the play caller is. We got to call better plays.
Yeah.
Rodgers doesn't
never
care.
call
He's
plays
going to
for
change the play
Packers.
of the line anyway.
When Hackett was at his best, he wasn't calling plays for the Packers. He was just sitting in the game planning room, and he was a quarterback coach. He's basically just doing quality control with Rodgers. There was no him being here is a Joe Douglas whiff, just like every fucking
Facino.
Everything is a Joe Douglas whiff. You brought in who? You brought in Alan Lazard. You brought in Randall Cobb. You brought in Billy Turner when you could have brought in guys like Davante Adams who would have helped, or Mercedes Lewis, because we have no run blocking tight ends.
Listen.
And you could have gotten better. But no, he brought in his cronies that aren't better. And
Facino,
the problem is always the GM. It's been the GM
Joe
since the beginning of 2 years ago, since last year. They fucking are the worst. He hired the head coach. The head coach hired a horrible staff. You go look at Dan Quinn. You go look at Campbell. They hired great staffs. Robert Saleh didn't hire a great staff, and then he was handcuffed into Nate Hackett, thinking that maybe they would get Rodgers. Okay. They don't need to do half the shit they do. It's not. It's Rodgers is bad, but it's not his fault.
I agree with you. Joe Douglas is the adult in the room. Joe Douglas is the parent listening to the child.
He should
And I
fucking be
agree with
fired.
you. I agree. He should be fired. You can't fire the owner, right? That can't be done.
Yeah.
The next best thing is you could get rid of Joe Douglas. And I agree with you. But right now, Jets ownership, Jets general manager, they're listening to that 40-year-old idiot. That's what they're
think they
doing.
are. I
And
don't think
they
they
are.
are.
They absolutely are.
Well, the owner
Alan
didn't
Lazard
ask
is
him.
here.
He didn't ask him his permission or whatever to fire the head coach. He just went and fired him.
Do you
which
really?
Is telling.
Wait a minute. In your heart of hearts, do you really believe Aaron Rodgers or Woody Johnson will get on a podium and say, yeah, you know what? We had a conversation last night, and me and Aaron agreed that it's time for Salah to go. Do you really believe that? Do you really think that's how these things go? Just like Matt Stafford and what's his face in L.A., Sean McVay just happened to be in Cancun at the same time that the trade went down. Come on, guys. Come on. All right. This is what happened. Woody Johnson we've seen this before. Woody Johnson spoke to Rodgers and said, do you still want Salah here? And Rodgers probably said no. And that's it. That's how that happened. You are putting all of your eggs in the basket of a 40-year-old quarterback who cannot do what he was able to do 10 years ago. That's the fact of the matter. Is Joe
But all
Douglas
the
letting it
onus-
happen? Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And he should be
Everything
gone.
is falling on Rodgers, and it's unfairly so.
No,
Everything
that's
falling on
about
Rodgers. I understand the narrative, and I understand what's going on there. But you got to look at guys like C.J. Mosley in the locker room saying things like the accountability line that he dropped in his post-game presser after the Vikings game. It's stuff like that I feel like everybody was
Yeah.
fed up with somebody, and they weren't saying names. And you can honestly kind of all roads lead to Rome here. You got to think it was probably about Salah here.
Salah, yeah.
And
yeah.
he's just not being accountable. He's
Listen,
not doing
I'll just
this.
tell
I
you
don't
this.
think it was just Rodgers who wanted him out.
You just talked about beating Buffalo. Just remember this, right? To all the people that, which isn't a lot, but we love all of our viewers. Anybody who listens to the show, anybody who listens to us rant and rave every Sunday morning and Thursday night, remember what we're talking about now. And you are going to see it now. This is all if the Jets win. If the Jets win Sunday and they go on a run here, hey, you know what? Salah was the problem. Maybe that's what it was.
Well, Will Hickey said
They
the
start
word
to
on the
lose.
street.
They start to lose. That locker room is going to turn on Aaron Rodgers real quick because there's a lot of guys in there that were here before Rodgers. Okay? A lot of guys in there. And there's a lot of guys in there. There's a lot of rumors of a lot of those guys not happy with number 8. I'm just saying.
I don't know about. See, I hear the
Well,
opposite, man. I hear that everyone
okay.
loves him.
That's sure.
Well, look,
Listen,
Matt,
you already saw what happened in Green Bay. He was gone, and everybody was real happy to see him go.
When did they hire Robert Saleh? They hired him in 2020.
2021?
Right before they drafted Zach Wilson. So January 2021.
Yes.
And who did they bring? Because Will Hickey made up he had a good point here. Who did they interview with Robert Saleh? They interviewed Todd Monken. And they decided against hiring Todd Monken. Which, in hindsight, again, Joe Douglas whiff. Because he whiffs every draft in the first round pretty much, outside of that 1 year that's saving his job. He whiffs in free agency over and over again. He hits on undrafted free agents, and then people say, well, wow, he can find these diamonds in the rough. Well, you know what? That's all about development because those guys aren't drafted off of traits. They're drafted off of what they might be able to develop into, which is the one thing Saleh was good at. But, I mean, Saleh was a linebackers coach, so it's no surprise that you have Jamie Sherwood and C.J. Mosley and Quincy Williams that are becoming, all pros and playing really well under his system. That makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is that he's an O-line guru. He's drafted and signed and, traded for like 30 linemen over the last 6 years.
Yeah,
and how have they always been bad? How has he missed on 20 linemen? It's insanity. It's so crazy that it's insane. Because how could you continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results?
Caleb
Bringing
Williams
in
just threw
veterans
one
that
of the
don't have it
ugliest
anymore.
picks I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was what I was cheering
It
about.
was really ugly.
But the Jets
He
are
didn't lead him into the corner of the end zone. That was a terrible throw.
the Jets can turn it around. That's the one thing
Listen,
that they have.
the Jets
so hopefully
absolutely,
they can.
the Jets absolutely could turn it around. You've got the personnel. I think Ulbrich is an awesome fucking defensive coordinator, and like if you're Jeff Ulbrich, hey, this is your time, man. This is your time to show
Go make some money.
that you're worth it as a DC, and maybe someone will give you a shot as a head coach. Shit, maybe if this all works out, if you're the Jets, maybe you just stick with them and you start to build around them. But I just think if the Jets start to lose, the next domino to fall, the next guy that everyone's going to turn on, absolutely is going to be number 8.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And
the
this is
thing-
going to. This
You
is
have no
gonna
one
end-
else to blame now. Hackett's fucking gone doing whatever. He's still there, but he's not there. And then Salah's gone. It now comes down. We want to talk accountability again. There's that word.
Yeah.
Now it's his time to take accountability, and that goes for everybody.
Because
now
right
it's
now,
strictly on the
your
players.
offense that Rodgers is running, okay, like was calling the plays, but Rodgers is making audible every time. So Rodgers is
Every
running
time.
this offense.
And that's another problem in its
All right.
own right. You
You're-
can't sit
you're-
there and get everything perfect every single time. That's how
you're
you fucking get delayed a game.
You're 206 yards per game. That's 19th in the NFL. You're 80 yards per game on the ground. That's 32nd in the NFL, which is ridiculous for the quality of talent you've got in the running back room. Okay, your total yards per game, you're at 286.6. That's 27th, and your points per game, you're at 18.6. That's 25th in the league. This offense is a fucking disaster. You want to make things better? Take the keys away from Aaron Rodgers. Okay, who's ever running your offense needs to run your offense, and Rodgers needs to plays that are called. If you want things to get better, because clearly the 6 weeks of the season, Rodgers has had the keys, and he's put it into a fucking ditch every game. Sorry.
That's one thing I have noticed, and I forgot where I heard it from, but I was told that they call 3 plays a play for the Jets, and they let Rodgers kind of choose from there and like what to do and play around with it. And you could see it on the line where he'll get under center and like look around and read the defense, which is good. You want that. You want your quarterback to be able to make, on the fly adjustments, call audibles, do all that stuff, kill, all that good stuff. But at the same time comes a sacrifice where, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like every single play that the Jets call comes down to 1, sometimes 0 seconds left in the play clock. Every single time. Hence the abundance of flags or lack of timeouts that we have in crucial spots. Not that we're using them correctly, but it's shit like that bothers me. Like, I understand you're a Hall of Fame quarterback. You want to be a perfectionist. You want to get things right. You know what you're doing, and I'm not going to say you don't. But sometimes you just got to run the damn play. And if you're going to get sacked, you're going to get sacked. Fucking take it on the chin. Let that be that. You got to let it happen sometimes. And other times it's going to work. You get it, like you said before, Pass. You got to let these guys do their job as it is, as their title is. You got to let the offensive coordinator call the offense. You got to let the quarterback play quarterback. You got to let Breece Hall run to the fucking outside and stop running it up the C gap.
Yeah, but what do you? All right, here's the thing, though. This is again, another reason Joe Douglas should be fired at 10:35 a.m. today. You have personnel on the field, and Rodgers may be trying to put the team in the right position, but if you're calling an outside zone and your tight ends cannot block because they have 3 tight ends and 3 of them can't block, how are you supposed to get to the outside? So that's the biggest issue, is that even if he calls the right play, the players that are supposed to block and make that play work aren't necessarily doing their job. So it doesn't matter what call you play a lot of times. Like, there's that bad call on 4th and 2 in the Vikings game when the whole world knew they should have kicked the field goal. That play itself is like it encapsulates what the biggest issue with the Jets is that the personnel on the field isn't the right personnel for getting that play, executed properly. They don't have Devontae Adams, so all their hot routes are being taken care of by a guy in Mike Williams who never played with Rodgers. So, although Mike Williams is a very talented player, everybody knows that Rodgers is one of those guys that needs time and needs that, a few months at least in training camp to build chemistry. Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay, and he worked with Mike Williams and Chris Godwin from the second he signed all the way up to August.
But Facino, what did you just say? He needs that time. It's almost like your star quarterback should have been there for OTAs. It's almost like you should have been there for mandatory minicamp.
He didn't miss he missed 2 practices.
Mandatory. That doesn't matter. You should be there. That is your job.
That trip was very important to him. You be nice, okay?
I mean, come on,
it's
guys.
2 games when your GM signed a guy that blew out his knee and couldn't even practice until September. So there was no opportunity, even if Rodgers didn't go to Egypt for a week.
We are excuses. I agree. Douglas is the problem. But as the leader of the franchise, as the leader of the offense, as the guy that everybody bought jerseys of, and you're supposed to save this franchise, and this year we're all in, you should fucking be at training camp. You should be at mandatory minicamp. That's
Look,
where you should
you
be.
give the legendary 20-year vet that's proven it the benefit of the doubt, and you tell the GM to get the fuck out of here.
Did Tom
That's what
Brady?
you do.
Did Tom Brady ever do that?
Tom Brady got Antonio
Hold up, Tom
Brown because he
Brady.
called the fucking GM and said, "Give me fucking Antonio Brown." They traded a 3rd-round pick for him.
Did Tom
this
Brady-
guy won't trade a 3rd-round pick for
Did
a
Tom
receiver
Brady
that
miss
Rodgers threw
OTAs
80
and mandatory
touchdowns too?
But wait. Did Tom Brady ever miss a practice? Did Tom Brady ever miss OTAs? Did Tom Brady ever miss mandatory minicamp? He never did.
It doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter
It does.
because Devontae
How can you
Adams
tell
isn't here,
people? How can
and
you tell
Mike
everyone
Williams-
in this room to buy in? Everyone's got to buy in. We got to be fully committed. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be in Egypt when we're doing minicamp.
Dude,
It's
he
bullshit.
missed 2 or 3 practices
That's-
out of 45.
But
it
that's
doesn't matter.
disgusting. That's
It's
that's not what a
not.
leader
It is
does.
what it is.
It is. It's not.
fine.
It's
The
just
Jets
like
could have
Russell
changed-
Wilson
the
having
Jets
an
could have
office in
literally
Denver.
changed
That's
that
not what a
for
leader
Rodgers
does.
If they really wanted it or they really cared, but they didn't. And they drafted a screen pass merchant that was getting yak in the FCS. That's what they did in the 3rd round. And then they didn't give him Devontae Adams, and they didn't go sign a blocking tight end. And they signed one, and after saying we need to go get a superstar receiver, they signed Mike Williams coming off an ACL to a prove-it deal and never gave him a shot to gel with Rodgers. It's a fucking joke.
I agree with
the
that.
GM needs to go because we're sitting here right now, we're saying Rodgers sucks because the GM put him in such a fucking bad spot where Rodgers is not playing well right now. And that shouldn't be allowed. They should have put him in they should have made it a perfect scenario. They should have had the hot tub at 102. He could just go right in. Instead, they fucking put the hot tub at 60 degrees and said it'll warm up. That's not fucking fair. The guy's 40 years old. He's getting his ass kicked. They're fucking the 10th overall pick that they lost all those fucking games for last year. We're praying that the fucking Morgan Moses comes back so they can put him back on the bench. It's so bad year after year. And I'm sick of it. And we finally got Rodgers, and the GM fucking betrayed him. And now we're sitting here week 6 saying, oh, Rodgers can't get it done. I know he hasn't been good. It's fucking horrible. It's the Jets. That's what it is. It's the Jets. We should move on, and we should never spend another fucking ounce of our time.
Nothing's gonna happen until Namath dies. We're cursed until Joe Namath passes away. Sold to the devil for Super Bowl 3. I'm confident in that. We're a cursed franchise. That's it. That's just the name of the game.
There's no scenario. There's no options. It's
the
All
front
in.
Rip
office.
it down
The
and
front
start
office.
over.
The Jets front office is that meme of the girl on the bike that like throws the stick in the first spoke, flips over the bike, and then says "men are trash." Like that's what the Jets. That's what the Jets front office is. Though, like, you did all this to yourself. You did all this to yourself. You brought in a self-centered fucking scumbag who was basically run out of Green Bay. They didn't want him anymore. And you thought that, yes, I agree with everything you're
Your
saying.
bias is showing. Your bias. Your
You know what?
NFC
Sure,
North
sure.
bias is showing.
You know what?
I get
It
it.
is.
He ruined your life. He's still a Hall of Famer. He's still.
He's a
tremendous
Hall of
quarterback.
Famer. He's all of those things. But the guy's a hypocrite. I don't understand in your heart of hearts how you can look into a camera and talk about accountability and commitment and not be there when everyone else is there. I just don't. I'm sorry. And you know what? If anything happens to, I'm not even. Whatever.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did Joe Douglas do a press conference after the fucking head coach got fired?
No, I don't
Or
think
is he
he
still
did.
in a fucking
We-
Aruba?
don't
Where is
think
he?
he
Is he in Aruba?
We all agree Joe Douglas shouldn't be here. That's not the
Joe
question.
Douglas is a nightmare. I mean, he's done nothing wrong, nothing right. But the problem is Rodgers to everyone's saying it's so clear. It's clear as day that football is not his number one priority anymore. His number one priority is elsewhere. I mean, when you're talking about what was this in the middle of the offseason, how he's going to run his fucking VP with RFK, and I mean, who knows
The
how
one
true
thing I'll
all
give
this shit
that was a rumor he didn't start.
But
So
his name is out there doing fucking crazy shit. He's going off and taking ayahuasca. You want your football players locked in, and I get it. These guys need free time and everything, but you need your guys locked in, especially in a season that was completely lost last year due to injury. He couldn't develop any chemistry with these guys. Why is he not here doing that? Why is he not working out in the offseason on his own fucking time if he's really serious about this? You know, you get guys that'll do that. They'll go and work with these guys the second they get signed on their own free time, on their own dime, trying to build chemistry, trying to build a rapport. And you can see it's clear as day with guys like Garrett Wilson. He's making throws that are great throws and catchable balls and balls that Garrett Wilson should be adjusting for, but he's not because he doesn't have the chemistry built from him. And that's on fucking Aaron Rodgers. It's also on Joe Douglas too, but That's besides the point. He needs to be gone. They need to start over. And that's that.
I don't think the Jets need to totally start over. You got to remove Joe Douglas. I agree. There's a couple people in this locker room you got to remove, but like Breece Hall doesn't have to go anywhere. Most of the guys on this defense don't have to go anywhere. You've got a decent. I still don't really understand why this offensive line is not producing, because the names are there. These are guys that have all produced in their career. Like, I don't understand, and that's on Joe Douglas for not getting the depth at O-line, and I have a lot of faith in Olu Fashanu. I think this guy's going to be really good.
In 15 years from now, when he fucking goes to the weight room.
Yeah, but
he should take steroids and just take the 4-game suspension. The guy can't run block. It's pathetic. But we knew that. We knew that in the draft. I'm fucking a random dude. I'm a random dude sitting in my fucking living room watching a guy on Saturdays, and I'm like, wow, that guy's a good pass blocker, but certainly can't set the tone. And then the guy that can set the tone was drafted 3 picks later. That could play left guard, right guard, left tackle, right tackle. Olu Fashanu is only a left tackle. It's just excuses after excuses. It's like Brock Bowers was the fucking pick. My grandma could have picked that guy. My grandmother.
Yeah, Brock Bowers still has the pick. He's an animal.
We've spent like a half hour on this.
Yeah,
Let's go to
just let it be known I'm still hopeful. Go Jets.
No. Listen, it could be turned around. I'm not sitting here, and you know what? If they do turn it around, throw all the Aaron Rodgers shit in my face. You know what? Please do. Please do.
It's no better in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
They can't even fucking score a touchdown today. It's halftime. They haven't even scored a touchdown.
Let's talk slate, baby. It's a good slate today. Couple good games.
Can we get into Bengals Giants here? I want to give them their due.
Sure.
Zach, what do you got on that game?
Oh God, what do I have on that game?
Giants are home dogs.
They're home dogs, and I think maybe the worst thing that possibly could happen last week. The Giants won the game without Malik Neighbors in Seattle, and Daniel Jones looked pretty fucking good. That is the worst thing you want to see as a Giants fan. I know that's counterproductive. You want the team to do well, but you don't want to feed any fuel to this fire that Daniel Jones can be a quarterback in the NFL. Like, I don't care if he comes out here and he proves to be an MVP type quarterback. He's not that. We know what he is, and for them to go out and win that game last week in the fashion they did, it was great to see. But also, once it was over, I was like, "Fuck! Did they really just do that? Did they really just give us hope?" Now, tonight's another game where I think they could easily win at home. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals are just not an amazing team. Joe Burrow's been amazing, but the defense has been great. They're going to bring pressure in his face all day from the center. Dexter Lawrence is going to wreak havoc of that offensive line. And the secondary has been playing good. They shut down DK Metcalf last week, and everything seems to be clicking there. Will we be able to attack that defense? I don't know. Just a matter of seeing what Daniel Jones can do in that offensive line if they can keep him upright. But this is going to be an interesting game tonight. I think it could be a sloppy one. I think it could be a one that ends like a 17-10 type of game. But we'll see.
I think this is going to be a big game for the Bengals. This is a game that, as the Bengals, if they want to kind of not separate themselves from the pack, but
prove that they're actually
exactly. They need to beat the shit out of the Giants tonight, and I
100%.
think I think the Bengals are a significantly different team than the Seahawks. Seahawks are not a bad team, but I think the Bengals, minus their defense, the Bengals offense blows the Seahawks offense out of the water. So I think even if the Giants do miraculously put up points, I think the Bengals are going to answer and then some, even though the Giants defense is pretty good. So, I mean, all in all, on paper, you might scoff at this game and think it's going to suck. I think this might be a pretty entertaining SNF game, but we'll see what happens.
It could be. The only reason I brought up that the Giants could really take over this game is they were able to go into Seattle and do what they did. They were able to shut down Geno in that offense, and the offense is good. It's not the Bengals' offense, but to go into Seattle and do that is a lot. It speaks volumes.
Dude, fucking fire the coach. Every team, except the Giants.
Was it DJ Moore?
The Giants are such a great example, Zach, where they just have a good head coach, and you could tell that they try, and the game plan is they create a game plan. They don't have the most talented roster, but their game plan gives them a shot, and they can win if they just play sound football and don't make mistakes. Tyrone Tracy, great player.
That was a great pick.
And I think that locker room plays for Dable. I do believe
They
that.
do.
I
And
Yeah.
they're
think they
getting
play hard.
better.
Matt.
You could see that they're getting better. What
The
a
offensive
concept.
line has been good. The offensive line has been good.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been one of the most improved offensive lines in the NFL. And that the signing of I think it was the Raiders O-line coach that came here. So, and he's done a great job of getting these guys together. I mean, Andrew Thomas, we knew what he was from 2 years ago. He's one of the best left tackles in the league, and he's he's jumped right back into it after a season loss, basically lost to injury last year. The two signings they had was it Runyon and Illuminor. They've been solid for the Giants, and John Michael Schmitz. That's probably the biggest thing for me. He's really done well, and he's really developed, and they've kind of had him take that next step. Whereas last year he stumbled out the gates, was injured here and there, and just really can never get things going, and just didn't look comfortable there. And now he looks comfortable. He's able to play football the way he likes. And he looks good doing it. And just everything they've done, they pieced together some offense. I mean, the Malik Neighbors goes down, and you have Wan'Dale Robinson continuing to grow. You have Darius Slayton had an awesome game last week. Devin Singletary goes down, and Tyrone Tracy just fills that hole and just plays better than Devin Singletary did through any of his first 4 games. So to see that is nice, especially when you spent a pick, what was it, a 5th round pick on Tyrone Tracy, which a lot of people thought was a steal. To see him come out of the gates and play as well as he did was definitely uplifting.
Shout out to our boy Dom. He's sending me screenshots. He's tuning in.
Yeah.
Dom's a Jets and Packers fan, so I'm with him on half of that. I think this is the Giants' game to lose, man. I don't think the Bengals are good. I think there's serious problems with Joe Burrow. I think that injury last year is a lot more significant than people are like thinking of or talking about outside of Cincinnati, because I know in Cincinnati people are really worried. They're worried about nerve damage. They're worried that there's a serious problem with Joe Burrow. I think the Giants are going to win tonight. I think if you want to kind of get a little frisky here on the sports book, I wouldn't take the spread. I'd take Giants money line. I think the Giants win. I agree with you, Dan, that Jerry, that the Bengals have on paper a much better offense than Seattle does, but I don't think they could execute it. These routine passes. I mean, Joe is hitting the deep passes, but these routine intermediate 10, 15, 20-yard throws, he's not hitting. He's not hitting anything on the run. He just doesn't look like himself. I'm worried about Joe Burrow. Yes, does a lot of this come from that video of him picking up the water? That's scary. That's really scary. That's your franchise, and that's what he looks like picking up a water bottle, and then he on the field kind of reflects that right now. I think the Bengals have to do some soul searching. I don't know. I don't watch the Bengals closely enough to tell you what the solution is there, because I don't think Zach Taylor's a bad head coach. I think he's done a really good job there. But a lot of this is centered. It's a quarterback-driven league, like we talk about, and it goes back to that Jamar Chase, Penei Sewell fucking argument in 2021 in terms of who they should draft, and giving Burrow these weapons at receiver is great, but you need a strong front 5 to block for him. And he's gotten the shit kicked out of him since he entered the NFL, and it's not a talent issue. I think anybody that's ever watched Joe Burrow, whether it be at LSU, I guess apparently the coaching staff at OSU didn't see that, but whether you watch him at LSU, whether you watch him in the NFL, he's a tremendous quarterback. And I think there's a serious problem there. Another game that I'm kind of looking at here, Chargers-Broncos. I think the Broncos are better than people want to give them credit for. The Chargers. The Chargers have they're 3-2 right now. Did you say 2?
Yeah, I said 3-2.
Okay. Chargers have looked pretty solid under Harbaugh. They've had a bad 2 weeks now. I guess they're right.
They don't have
a
enough
2-game losing
talent.
streak. Yeah.
The offensive line is good. They have some pieces on defense.
I don't think it's going to be a high scoring. Oh, wow. Over under 35.5.
Yeah. They don't have anything around Justin Herbert. Their biggest offensive weapon around Justin Herbert is J.K. Dobbins on one Achilles. I mean, come on.
They have Josh Palmer, but they refuse to use him. Josh Palmer's a good wide receiver, man.
But we know what he is. He's not explosive, and he's a good, solid receiver. He's a 3. He's not a 1 or a 2. And when you're running, I'm sorry, Ladd McConkey's their best offensive weapon. But again, he's a rookie, and he wasn't this amazing talent coming out of college that everyone was like clamoring over. He was someone that needed time to develop, and we knew it was going to take time. And he's a slot receiver. So, I mean, slot receivers are great, but he's not going to be out there, for 100% of the snaps, so.
Yeah.
Can we talk dogs for a second?
Which dogs?
I gotta pick
underdogs?
that. Yeah, I gotta pick that one of our viewers isn't really gonna like. Might be controversial. I think the commies beat the Ravens today.
I think there's two things that I look at with that. You have two games that are teams getting 6.5 or more. And so far this year, teams getting
6.5 has been winning.
6.5 on this against the spread is 16-2 this year. With two
what about outright?
Two teams outright winning last week in the Cardinals and the Giants.
6.5
I don't think
outright.
I do not think the Panthers beat the Falcons today. I think the Patriots beat the Texans. I think the Patriots beat the Texans.
I don't hate that either. Drake May's playing.
That team is going to be fired up for Drake May. You have Nico Collins out. I do not think Stephon Diggs is a true alpha anymore. I think him being thrust into the alpha spot, I think they're going to force feed him the ball. CJ Stroud is going to have a bad game today. You also don't have a run game. Joe Mixon is coming back, but he's been injured off a high ankle sprain. He is not good to play. He's going to hurt himself.
Don't say that. I'm starting him in fantasy, and I'm pretty.
I
kind of need him to deliver.
The re-injury risk is so high with these high ankle sprains, and he's had at least one setback so far coming back from it. So it's. I mean, look, I hope he doesn't get hurt. I don't wish injuries upon anyone, but it's tough to thrust the guy back into starting role, into a bell cow role coming off an high ankle sprain.
We brought up Washington Ravens, and then we moved off it.
Yeah, you go back to that. I think that's the best game of the day.
Where are we at on the Ravens right now?
High.
Good team, bad breaks. Like they should have beat the Chiefs week 1.
Good teams
like
with
that.
Just like everyone else, they have their flaws. I mean, the running game is phenomenal. Lamar Jackson an MVP, looking like an MVP again. And my one problem is they don't have any receiving help out, at least specifically from the receivers. Any help outside of Zay Flowers. You have Rashad Bateman, who's whatever. And Zay Flowers is good, but they don't utilize him as well as I think they can. And the problem is when your best receiver, at least in terms of stats this year, has been Isaiah Likely, that can be taken advantage of. Granted, it does help that they are a run-centric team and they're able to kind of utilize that well, but I think they need to start getting these receivers in better positions to make plays and start utilizing them more.
Lamar's having a really good season. He's at a 107 passer rating. He's thrown for 1,200 yards. He's at 240
picks
a game.
year?
Here's the issue with Lamar. No, in the he's not hurting them in the passing game. He's 9 TDs for 1 pick. His problem right now is he's fumbling. He's got 4 fumbles on the season, 3 of them lost. Now, he scored on the ground twice. So
yeah,
but that's a problem. Lamar could look good, but when you're a dual threat quarterback like that and you're going to run a lot, you got to hang on to that ball. Like there's 2 things running quarterbacks got to do. You can't get hurt, right? You got to slide, and you got to avoid the big hits, and you've got to keep the ball in your hands. So which is kind of uncharacteristic of Lamar. Like usually the issues that he's had a lot of drops, which are not on him, right? He hasn't had the best receivers to throw to. His best target so far in his career is a tight end, Mark Andrews is really good, but there really should be better receivers
not
there.
Anymore.
But Lamar's got to hang on to the ball here. I logic will tell you that the Ravens should win today, but if you're a Commanders fan, it's hard not to feel good about the Commanders right now. Like their defense isn't good.
They're balling, dude.
Their defense is not good. Like, but
Baltimore, right?
They're in Baltimore. Their defense isn't good, but this is like a very high-powered offense.
No.
Very high-powered, and you have to. I mean, Dan Quinn's a defensive guy. You have to like kind of not maybe hope, or I guess maybe the word is hope. Like he's got to at some point just create like a bend but don't break defense there. I think if you could do that. That's another game I'd throw a little on Commanders money line here. I don't think
I might.
The Ravens as a whole they're not the Ravens of last year and the year before. Like they've shown weakness this year. And this isn't on Lamar. I'm not singling out Lamar, but like the Ravens defense hasn't looked great, right? They haven't been showstoppers in Baltimore. They haven't been like the best team on the road. They're usually the Ravens are a typical team of like, doesn't matter where they are, they're going to play really hard and they're going to win games. They haven't looked great on the road. That game in Dallas, they almost coughed that up. I know that was a few weeks ago now, but like
their secondary is leaking.
you had Dallas on the ropes and you let them crawl right back in, which is probably more of a coaching thing because you started taking out your starters. But I don't know. I like the Commanders here. I don't know. I'd sprinkle on Commanders money line in a parlay here. That's how I would word it.
I think I'd prefer the spread again. They're 6.5. They're getting 6.5. The Commanders. And I just think Jaden Daniels is too damn good to let this game get that far out of hand. I mean, last week, even in a game that he was not at his best, he still ran for, 77 yards or something. And he looked good. He looked damn good against a good defense. And now we're going up against a defense here that they do defend against the run well. They're stopping the run fairly well. But, you have 2-3 running backs that can get the job done in the backfield on top of Jaden Daniels. I'm not sure if Brian Robinson's playing. But he can also do it with his arm. He's not playing. I didn't think so. But he can do it with his arm clearly. And they have talented. They have some guys on offense in the receiving cores that are good, and they can attack this leaky secondary that the Ravens have. And Jaden Daniels can do it with his legs. He can improvise, and when he's not able to make the big throw, he can still rush for the first down. He can still move the chains. He can still get positive yardage with his legs. So it's going to be a high scoring game. And what's the over under at?
For
51.5.
Yeah, it's high.
So I wouldn't even touch that. That's tough to bet either way.
I would buy that down. I'd buy that down to 48.5.
48. I like 48.
I'd buy it down. I think the thing is, if you're betting, it's Commander spread. Maybe if you want to buy a couple points, maybe make it 9.5.
I'm going to be honest with you, Drew. Plus, I think, what is it? Hold on, I have it right here. Plus 250. Plus 250 money line. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. You parlay that with the Indianapolis Colts plus 126.
I feel like if the Ravens win this game, they win on like it's gonna be
close. I think
I don't think so. Like I think they'll cover. Yeah, if they win, they cover. Like this is the type of game you either take the money line or you don't touch it at all, or you buy the Ravens down to like 2.5, 3.5 in your parlay. I wouldn't throw a unit on Commanders money line, but like, I don't know, man. You're the Commanders. Like this is the week. This is the week, man, because you haven't played the best of teams, right? You beat up on the Giants, you beat up on the Bengals, you beat up on the Cardinals, right? You lost to the Buccaneers, who right now have shown us they're a pretty good team. I like the Commanders today. I think Jaden Daniels can go off. If I'm betting, and I think I'm going to take Commanders money line. And it's a 1:00 game, which
I will say
great for the 1:00 window.
This is the TV game. This is the game I'm watching at 1
against Lamar, because
you're not wrong either, Pass. You're not wrong.
Games. So if you're just a gambler playing the odds are against you.
I'm not betting against Lamar. I'm kind of betting against the Ravens defense here. That's really what this
Ravens
is about.
defense has holes.
Lamar's going to put up points, which
JD has been throwing that defense.
Oh, Will just brought up a great point. Lamar Jackson does own the NFC. Whenever he plays an NFC team, he has one loss.
The only loss was to the Giants.
That's true.
He lost to Daniel Jones. How does that feel?
But that's a very fair point, Will. I didn't think about that.
No, I know. He crushes the NFC. And they should win this game. I mean, if I had to bet any money on anyone winning this game, like if I had to bet the house, it's the Ravens winning this game. But I think the Commanders cover. I think that's kind of.
I think that stat right there about Lamar having one loss to the NFC just talked me off the ledge for.
Have the Ravens covered the spread this year? Have they covered the spread this year? Because last week was into OT. Buffalo. They murdered Buffalo. That was the only time they covered the spread. They let the Cowboys back into it, right?
And you're probably honestly taking Derrick Henry yards today is probably a really good idea.
Oh yeah, he's 82.5. Derrick Henry yards is an absolute lock.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yards.
Are we moving on from this?
Yeah.
Let's talk lines, dude. That's a big game. This is a
one thing I want to talk about before this is must-see TV. It's also in the early window, and it is Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans round like 1,000. That is going to be a fun game to watch, just to keep your eye on, because those guys always go at it.
Spencer Rattler is starting for the Saints. Bet the
And-
house on Tampa. Fuck
Bet the
yeah,
house
let's
on
go.
Tampa.
100%.
That
But that
line's
should be
low
a
too. That
fun
line's only
game.
3.5.
That game should be a lot of fun. Well,
I'm gonna
Alvin
take an
Kamara's
old
gonna get a ton
spread.
of work.
Old
But,
spread.
Spencer Rattler stinks. I
Spencer
can't believe
Rattler.
I'm
he
gonna
made the
fuck
NFL.
around. And I'm gonna take an alternate spread on this game.
But it should be a fun
I'll
game.
take the
I mean,
Buccaneers at a touchdown.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
6.5. Take 6.5. You won't be upset.
Yeah, I'm gonna take. I might fuck around and take him at like 10.
One thing I would take if you're betting on this game, Alvin Kamara rushing and receiving yards, he's gonna be dumping it off to Kamara.
Yeah.
Kamara's gonna run the ball like fucking
Buccaneers
1,000
defense
times
is
today.
good though. The
They're
Buccaneers
good, but
defense is gonna
Alvin
be all over
Kamara
that.
Their front seven's good. Their front seven's good. They're back. They're safe. Their secondary is fucking awful. So I could even see Rashid Shaheed having himself a big game. You know, all it takes is
Well,
one
look
big
into
throw.
who's coming back for the Buck. I don't know who the Buccaneers secondary is all hurt. There
Even
might
with
be-
them healthy, it's not.
No,
very good.
even with them healthy, it's a good secondary.
Eh.
Antoine Winfield is a great safety.
He's
There's
a
a,
great
there's
safety,
a lot of
but-
good. There's a lot of good players on that secondary. But yes, right now them depleted. That's fine. That's a very fair take. Lions Cowboys 425. Lions are looking for some vengeance. A lot of the guys, most of the guys that were on the Lions roster last year are still on the team this year. They know how shitty that loss was in December on Saturday night. They know the nonsense that ensued. If you're the Lions, like this is the fucking game to get up for.
Big time game.
I don't.
This is gonna
What
be
is
a
it,
good
Dallas,
game.
Playing,
right?
You're playing Dallas 4:25 in the afternoon. We're wearing
National
the all whites.
television. Yep.
We're wearing all whites. Don't know why Dallas is going blue at home today. Some version of blue. That's very weird of them. They're a white at home team, so
They're at Jerry's World.
they're at Jerry's World. The Lions are favored by 3.5. I
Love
don't
it.
love
I
that.
love that.
I don't love that.
I do. No, you
I
should.
hate-
You
I hate when we're
should.
favored.
3.5 wins football games big.
No
When-
way, bro.
Wait,
What?
he's mad. I don't know. Trevor Lawrence probably.
No,
I don't know.
17. Whoever 17 is just fumbled.
The key for the Evan Ingram. The key for the Lions today is to run the ball, run the fucking ball. The Cowboys have an awful front seven. I mean, it's just been terrible.
Parsons
against
is
the run.
out. Lawrence is
Parsons is out. Lawrence is out. I mean, and even with them here, they've been allowing fucking running backs to gash them. So
And
this is a
you're
game-
rested too. coming off a
Exactly,
bye.
you're
It,
rested.
it just couldn't get worse for the fucking Jaguars. It's unbelievable. I have to switch teams.
Come to Detroit.
Aren't you a Jets fan?
It's worse there.
Jesus Christ. Travis Etienne has
going
minus
on the Ravens.
10
I have
fantasy
the
points.
Ravens in my back pocket.
I have
somebody
Lions
gotta root
jerseys
for.
from my skinnier days that
I
you'll
got
fit
a Lions
into.
jersey. I got them all. I just
What do you have, Barry Sanders?
yep.
So, want to come over today and watch the Lions?
I'm going. You know what I did today?
Don't tell me you're going pumpkin picking. I'll fucking
No,
kill
I'm
you.
working. I'm going to a meeting at 1:30.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, all right. Lions play at 4:25. Come over after. I got a pot roast in the crock pot.
I might.
Oh, what a guy.
What a fucking joke.
I got two
dude.
pot roasts
Every
actually
year
in the crock pot.
Oh,
we
two
talk
pot
about
roasts.
football, and it's just a disappointment every
All right.
time.
Well, we're at 52 minutes here. Let's finish up the Lions talk. Jaguars are a disaster. Let's figure them out next week.
They're all their
where
heads are
we at?
down. By the way, all their heads are down on the sidelines like they dog died. It's unbelievable. Fucking. Anyway, yeah. So let's talk.
Where are we at on this game? Does anybody have the Cowboys?
No, not in the slightest. I mean, the one thing they need to slow down is they need to slow down CeeDee Lamb. I mean, CeeDee Lamb, that's the only person you're really worried about. I think if you get beat by Brandon Cooks, if you get beat by Jalen Tolbert, you don't like that, but you can live with it. You can't live if you let CeeDee Lamb
I
go
think you
off
just-
for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns today, and that's the
you-
reason you lost the game.
You got to.
I disagree with you. I disagree. There, CD's a star. And you kinda
CeeDee's
love
a
him.
star, but you have to
I think
have your
you
safety cheating his way. You have to be locked up on him all
You
day.
could give CD the yards. Just keep him out of the red zone. Keep him out of the end zone. Like if CD, listen. I mean, the Lions give up a lot of yards to star receivers. Like that's what they do. But if you could keep him out of the end zone, like it doesn't having him go for 100 yards today doesn't. If he doesn't go in for 6,
No.
you know what I mean?
You need to cheat your safety that way. You need to have someone over the top, ready to come down and make the tackle, and if he makes a big catch. So it needs to be stopping him and letting the other guys try to beat you because I don't necessarily believe in Brandon Cooks and Jalen Tolbert as being good receivers, or at least these superstar receivers. Brandon Cooks is, at the latter stage of his career. Jalen Tolbert's look good, but he's a 3-2 receiver, so it's not like they have a ton of firepower outside of CeeDee Lamb. So it's got to be stopping him and letting the other guys try to win the game for the Cowboys.
But how long are they going to even have the ball for? Because Dallas can't stop the run.
They can't stop the run. Yeah,
down their throats, and
the Lions should
I
run the
don't
ball
think the
80
Lions
times
throw
today.
for. I don't think the Lions throw for 1,000,000 yards today. I think they get like 160 on the ground. You talking gambling? I would bet Montgomery to get a touchdown today. That's
Montgomery's
still
line
is he still
is
on
at
that streak?
53.5. Yeah, 5 in a row. I think.
I know. And shout out to Dave Montgomery getting the contract extension yesterday.
Oh, he did
Signed
good for
now
him.
through 2027, so he is signed with the Lions till he's 30 or 31, which is a great time to keep a running back.
Quarter props, passing props. I want to look at something real quick.
Do we have anything else on today? I do have to. Go flip my
Just
pot
a
roast.
fun little bet for today. Jared Goff over under 33.5 passing attempts. I'd take the under. I don't think they're going to throw the ball all today.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I think you'll see maybe 25 pass attempts by Goff today.
Lightning
see that.
round. I think the Packers win but don't cover. I think
Are they playing the Cardinals?
Playing the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are better than people give them credit for.
I agree.
I think the Steelers win. I think the Falcons beat the shit out of the Panthers. It's 6.5, but I don't know.
I think that's the 6.5 game that
You wouldn't
does
touch.
not cover. That does not
Yeah.
cover. Yeah, the
You know
Panthers,
who I
don't
do.
think-
You know who I do think covers?
The Browns?
Yeah, 8.5.
8.5.
Fucking points. A lot of points there.
That defense is so fucking leaky. That secondary for the Eagles. I mean, and
Yep.
the Eagles they're getting AJ Brown and Devonta Smith back, but I think that Browns defense is too good to not lock up one of those guys.
And I think Jerome Ford's going to eat today, especially because his job's on the line because Chubb's coming back like next
Yeah,
week probably. So I think he's going to have one more like saving grace game. Like, hey, I can still play running back. So again, wishful thinking for my fantasy roster, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's it. I'm ready for tomorrow night. Ready to be hurt. Mets play tonight, and it's going to be that. We got a great day of sports
go
ahead of
Mets.
us, baby.
Let's fucking go, Mets.
Yeah. Go Mets. Bears are going in. Got to be 21-3, and I'm going to fucking do something else today.
All right, boys.
Well, I hope you close your deal.
I will.
Yeah, good.
Facino, before I
winner,
go on my
not
trip,
this
you have
team.
to sit down with me and my wife. We got to figure out this solar panels talk.
We will. We will.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in. And Thursday's show is up in the air. I know we haven't had one past 2 weeks. I'll be in Arizona, so I got to figure that out.
What are you going there for?
My brother lives there,
Unbelievable.
Oh, right on.
going for his birthday. So happy
Nice.
early birthday, Anthony. All right.
Happy
Thank you
birthday,
everyone for
Anthony.
tuning in, and we will see you all next week.
Bye, guys.
Peace.